Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Talking Cinema. We are your hosts, Julius Freeman, James Callahan, and Sean Malone. Welcome to the show, everyone. Tonight's show, we're going to be talking about two films that had so much potential. Prometheus and Alien Covenant, both directed by Ridley Scott. Were they also written by the same guy?
They have so much potential that they reached their potential.
So weird how that works.
Yeah. I also have a few announcements. We will be moving from our Friday slot. We may move to either Tuesday, I believe. I think Tuesday is the day where we all can do the show, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that works for me.
Sean? Tuesdays.
I still haven't asked my girlfriend.
It's all good. I know how it is. But we are moving the show from Friday to either Tuesday or some other day during the week before not passing Thursday. But so just if you guys still want to join in on the awesomeness of our show, then please subscribe to the Talking Cinema channel. And there you'll find all the latest updates and all the latest streams that we'll be discussing. So maybe not next week, but the week after that, we'll probably start doing it on the new day. So that way, Friday nights will be open for all you guys who are ready to go out into the world.
Go back to the movies, guys.
Because I know a lot of people have been vaccinated. A lot of people feel a little bit more comfortable going outside. So Friday nights may not be the best nights to have a show unless we're a powerhouse show, but we're not. We're kind of like the Conan O'Brien show in the early 90s, like that kind of level of popularity, I would say.
On our way to becoming a powerhouse.
On its way, exactly.
With a lot less viewers than he had.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Sean, you were not with us last week. Would you like to tell the audience what you've been up to? Because it sounds like exciting news from what you've told me, and I think the rest of the world out there would like to know that you're up to some fantastic, fun stuff that most of us cinephiles would dream of doing one day in our lives.
Yeah, thanks. I got to shoot the first couple of days of a feature film this past weekend, and I'm going to be shooting the rest of the feature. It's a low-budget feature. We're shooting for 17 days, so we just did our first two. And we'll be doing the other remaining 15 in May up in Central California. So, yeah, really excited.
So exciting.
It's for a project of my friend's. He wrote it. He's writing and directing it. And it's called The Greatest of All Tina. So keep an eye out.
Is it going to be regular what do you call it, circulated in the film festivals? Or
we'll be doing a film festival run for it, and it'll probably end up on streaming as well. But
nice.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Is it a drama? Yeah, is it a drama? What genre does it fall into?
It's like a quirky comedy where this girl, her life's kind of falling apart. She can't make her rent. Her husband's a jerk. Her husband ends up leaving her. Everything's going wrong in her life, and she goes to do goat yoga. And her friend who runs the goat yoga class says, "Hey, you need to chill out, be more like the goats. You know, they don't have any worries, they don't have any concerns. Just be like them." So Tina takes her friend's advice literally and decides that she's going to now live her life as a goat so that she won't have to deal with human problems.
Okay, that sounds pretty awesome, actually. All right,
might be onto something. Cool.
Yeah, could be the next comedy hit of the 21st century. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, thanks for letting me talk about it, Julius.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. I'm excited to keep us updated on that, so that way we all know we hopefully can attend the film festival if you have it in Orange County or LA or San Diego, whatever is closest. And we'll be more than happy to support you and give you all our love, so that way it could grow. It could grow and grow like a big oak tree. So let's segue to a rotting oak tree. That is
like Joe Bluth. Let's segue like Joe Bluth.
Like Joe Bluth.
I got that reference.
I didn't get that reference.
Job from Arrested Development. He always rides the Segway around.
I never seen the show, so I don't know what the reference is.
Oh boy,
sorry. I'm ignorant when it comes to Arrested Development. Guilty as charged. So, Prometheus. I know I've said it in the past that I was not a fan of this film when it came out back in 2012. I went to see it in the theater because I am a fan of the Alien franchise, and at the time, I was still kind of, I was still digging Ridley Scott. I'll admit. I was like, okay, he's coming back to Ridley Scott. He's coming back to Ridley Scott. He's coming back to the Alien franchise. Cool. So I was really excited about it, and I was expecting great things. And I left the theater with a bitter taste in my mouth, and I felt like I was sold a bill of goods. Is that the right phrase? Bill of goods? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hated it ever since then. I didn't want to watch it again. And so I had to watch it again for the show. And upon watching it a second time, older, a little wiser, and, with the long break in between watching it, and I have to say the movie, surprisingly, still sucks donkey balls, in my opinion. I still hate it. I still think it's overrated.
Scalding hot take.
It has so much potential, and okay, I'm gonna list off the things, my complaints. My first complaint was, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question? I'm going to be on the opposite end of what Julius's take is on this movie. And I'm just kind of curious. I want to get a read on James before we get just not his hot take, because Julius has got to do his hot take. But James, are you with me or are you with Julius?
I am firmly in this movie is good camp. I think it is a very good film with a lot of problems, but with a lot of big ideas. And I've seen the movie many times, more times than I probably would care to admit, because I think it's a compelling film, and yeah, I enjoy it.
Okay,
call me basic. I like it.
I don't disagree with that, James. I don't disagree with that. It's still a compelling film. It's just terribly presented. That's my only complaint.
Is it though?
It is. And I'll tell you, and I'll explain why. Because there's so many old, dated tropes in this movie that I was left dumbfounded. So, like, for instance, there's a scene in the movie where they get to the ship, right? They don't know what the hell they're in, and they're exploring it. Yeah. And the tough Irish guy, forget his name, the character's name, and the geologists are freaking out. They're like, dude, like, I just study rocks. That's all I do. I study rocks. I need to get the hell out of here. I don't know what this is. We need to go. Yeah. We need to bounce. And of course, the other guy was like, yeah, I think the ship's the best bet. And then later on in the fucking movie, an alien snake goes up. Snake. He's like, oh, wow, look at this little cutie cat. That same guy who was like, you know what, the ship is a safer bet. Yeah, let's get the hell out of here because I'm not feeling this place. And all of a sudden, he's, wow, look at this little cutie pie. I want to touch it. I want to touch it with my hand. And then ends up killing them, obviously.
Right.
Thing, that my second little writing thing.
Wait, really quick.
This is more for like writing. This is more from the writing aspect and directing. Go ahead, James.
I have to defend those two characters because they are two. Hold on. They are two of the dumbest characters in the history of cinema, and I think they might be written that way. I don't know. That was just my take.
That's just terrible writing, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
The writer was not a good writer, in my opinion, of this movie. The second thing I hated about this, what?
James is like,
it's all good. I'm having a good time because I really feel strongly about this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
I just want to say Sean Harris is a really good actor, though, because I saw him, and of course, we're now familiar with him from the Mission Impossible movies. You know, he plays a really great bad guy.
Mhm.
And I saw him in this movie, and I was like, oh, I didn't remember he's in this. I didn't even remember it was him.
Same.
But within like 2 or 3 minutes, I completely forgot that it was Sean Harris, and I was like into his character came across, not just him, as an actor. So I would just want to just a quick shout out to Sean Harris.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Plus his name's Sean, and he spells it correctly. So
yeah. Wait. No, ID Crisis is right. ID Crisis is right, because I have a take on this movie, and it's the thing that made me reconcile with it, because I walked out with a lot of misgivings about it, because I think all of the characters are so dumb, and it's very frustrating. But I think that they are actually written that way. Now, you have to use your suspension of disbelief because they're supposed to be scientists. But I don't think that Ridley Scott really wants you rooting for them, because the real protagonist of this movie is David. And I think that's the whole, and that's why I suggested watching Covenant, because you realize from like the opening scene in Covenant that this is really David's arc, and it's supposed to finish in a trilogy. So like Prometheus is like his character's journey, and it's us realizing, just like in the first film in Alien, when Ripley, you don't realize that Ripley's the protagonist until halfway through, when everyone else dies.
right.
And I think it's kind of the same thing with David. It's as each character gets picked off, you realize that David's the guy you're supposed to be following and rooting for. He's definitely an anti-hero, but it's very apparent that Ridley sympathizes with his character far more than anybody else in the series.
How do you say?
And that's good films.
And that's my problem with the movie. Is that that very artistic choice, which is why I have Ridley Scott as my overrated director on our list when we did that show, that episode with underrated directors.
It's funny. We did that show like months ago, but like Julius is still litigating his case from that show.
Because we should do another one of those, because I think there's more directors that deserve to be on that list.
We should. I didn't participate in that episode, and I would love to. I would love to give these directors their day in court.
All right,
we need to open the case back up and relitigate.
You know what? How about this? Let's do it. Let's make it official then. When we officially move the show to the, hopefully, well, Sean, you have to get back to us. We'll make that the overrated, underrated, a second edition of overrated, underrated directors. And Sean, since we already did one, we can't use the same director. So Ridley Scott cannot make that list, even though if I had the power to do so, he would be on the list the second time.
I have to defend him. I have to defend him a little bit in this episode, and I will explain why as we go, because I have a lot of takes on this period in Ridley Scott's career. So
no, and that's fine. That's fine with me. I will say this though, before I go on my little problems with the movie, it was beautifully shot. I give him. I mean, when I watched it again, I was like, dude, I forgot how beautiful this movie was. Like, this is beautifully shot, beautifully made, directed. I mean, he does have a great eye, no doubt about it.
Yep.
But I'm focused more on the story here, because he's still a storyteller, not just a director. And he's not Zack Snyder, who's flash and substance. He's a director who has some oomph to him. He has a good understanding of story, which is why I was so disappointed with Prometheus, because it's not like this was his first or second film. He's been around. He's been around the block a few times, so there was no excuse for him to fail telling the story, in my opinion. So the second thing the problem I had with it was the android David putting that drop of that, whatever that alien DNA crap it was. I don't know the name of it. The ooze. Mm-hmm. He like dipped his finger in the guy's drink in front of him.
He does. He does.
It was like, dude, what? Like, how can you not see that? Like, I would have been like, wait a minute, what the hell? Hey, you know what? I'm gonna get another cup of drink, because I don't like the fact that you dipped your finger in my drink like that.
I can argue this one with you too, because I think it can go. James. I think it can go either way. No, because it's weird that it's weird that it's clear that he does that. Like, Ridley could have cut away, and he could have made it way less apparent that he was doing it right in front of his face. That seemed like a clear director's choice. And I think because of how much of an asshole Holloway is towards him, And I just don't think he has any. I don't think his character thinks David has any agency or any like ability to think for himself and make a decision like that. So he thinks he can just taunt him and say whatever he wants without realizing that David's a murderous robot. He's a psychopath and he wants to end humanity.
Whoops. Sorry, guys. That's not what I meant to share. Sorry. I meant to share.
I hated this movie so much we're starting over.
Starting over. I just wanted to put this picture up because I like the picture. And this was a great shot, by the way.
Yeah. And then the Lawrence of Arabia quote. I know Sean likes that, right? This
was a great shot. And I had to share it because I was really impressed with just how close he got to that. That's a photograph, right? That's actually the actor's finger, Sean, if you know. If you're a cinematographer in the crowd,
by looking at it, I'd say it's a.
Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan. Yeah, I would say it's not a real finger because it's got the Wayland Enterprises logo. So I would say it's a prop.
Okay.
But it's definitely physical, like it's being physically photographed. And
yeah, no. I think Fassbender is such a method actor that he actually had the W cut into his finger. He's just a dedicated actor. So
actually, that's not a W. That's an M. It's for method. You hold it upside down.
Oh, there you go, dude.
It's for Michael. It's for Michael.
Right.
And the third thing, the writing from a writer's perspective, is the scene with the captain and Idris Elba, Charlize Theron's the captain of the ship, and they have this scene where there's like the scene where they're like, "Oh, are you a robot?" And like, "Well, come in my room, 10 minutes." That was just like, oh my god, dude, what the hell was that? Like, I have nothing against the love interest, like that's fine. It's just presented better than that. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was just terrible writing. In my opinion, terrible.
I like that. I'm here for that scene. I thought it was funny.
Terrible.
I thought it was great acting by Elba and Theron. Yeah, much needed levity. I also love that when he goes off and gets distracted when they go off together. Isn't that when the two idiots start to die? Is he like not monitoring their progress anymore at that point?
Totally the reason why that scene exists.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to get them out of the control room so that those two guys can die without anyone knowing.
And I don't know, speaking for Idris Elba, worth it? I don't know.
Okay, I understand that. I'm not, like I said, I don't have a problem with the scene itself because you're right, Sean. They had to get out of the room in order for the two characters to die. That's absolutely fine. But the way they did it, it was just like, dude, can you not write a better line than that? Than like, my room, 10 minutes, as opposed to, I don't know, saying something like, "Would you like to find out?" I don't know. I don't know. I'm not the writer of the movie, but it's just it sat wrong with me. It was just stupid. It was just absolutely stupid. So overall, the reason why I was so disappointed in this film was because I feel like Ridley Scott had a big idea, huge idea. I mean, these are big ideas, right? Freaking alien, extraterrestrial aliens coming to Earth, creating life, having an influence in the development or the evolution of humankind, right? And then going to space to find these engineers. I just feel like he held back. He didn't go all the way with it because I saw a few of the deleted scenes when the engineer, is talking to Wayland, right? Was that his name? Wayland?
Wayland.
Guy Pearce, played by Guy Pearce. And I was like, why wasn't that in the movie? That should have been in the movie. Why did they cut that out? That would have worked for me if they had that in the movie. Another deleted scene was when he entered the ship when he was, going after the woman. I forget her name. The Dr. Holloway, I think it was. I forget. And remember, she's running away because she helped destroy the ship from leaving the planet, and so he goes after her to kill her. And the other deleted scene was that he enters the ship and he kind of is looking around and he kind of is admiring how far mankind has come for a minute. Before he looks right now. And again, I was like, why wasn't that in the movie?
Yeah.
That would have worked for me in the movie. That would have made
Yeah.
the movie better for me if they just had those two scenes that he decided to delete from the movie, and they would have worked for me. And then the third thing I didn't like was that I wanted the xenomorph. Damn it! Why wasn't I given the xenomorph in the movie? I wanted to know the origin of it, and yeah, he gave it to us, but it was just too long. I felt like maybe.
But that's why. That's why Covenant exists. Like, he makes up for it. He's like, here's
Covenant,
2 helpings.
And you know what? Covenant should have been
Xenomorph.
first, and then Prometheus.
Okay.
That's that. If that was the order,
it wouldn't have made sense. Okay with that. It wouldn't have made sense.
I would have been okay with
it. What were the deleted? What were the deleted scenes? There's a deleted scene when the engineer talks to Guy Pearce. What transpires in that scene? Because I remember seeing that like years ago, but I don't remember it now.
He's pretty much asking why he created us,
right?
Why does he want to destroy us? And the engineer tells David, right? Is that the character?
Yeah, David. Yeah,
David. Why he wanted to destroy them, and pretty much, and I think Winan also asked for immortality, and kind of resembling what happened in Blade Runner when Roy Batty goes to his creator and wants more life. So he wants immortality, but in the deleted scene, I guess not the deleted scene, but I guess the actual script that was written, the engineer does say that mankind is not ready for immortality because of our nature, that we're not ready for it. And then that's when Winan says, well, I created David. And then that's when it leads to him ripping his head out and like kind of showing like, no, this is freaking porcelain and plastic and whatnot. It's not blood. It's not real flesh, And like I said, that's what it would have worked for me if he had kept that scene. But instead, what we got was just an angry, alien.
I have a take on this. I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I do think that's actually a pretty valid complaint. I think that at the time they were really trying to be pretty like obscure with their intentions, and I think they were trying not to be too on the nose about where they wanted to go in the future films. So I think that I think that they were really actually trying to cut anything that made their intentions too like on the surface. And I think that's why a lot of that stuff did end up getting cut out, because they wanted to kind of save it for the sequels. And I think that Ridley Scott was like actually trying to make a kind of like a thought-provoking movie that you can kind of interpret from it whatever you will. I'm not saying he was successful at it. I think he's successful at some of it, but
he was not successful at all.
Sure. And
I disagree, Julius.
Okay, you know what? Then Sean, since you're the one that feels strongly about it, about how much you love it, try to convince me why this worked for you, or why this movie worked in general. Because for me, it didn't work at all. I felt like he was trying to say something. Obviously, he was channeling, Zachariah Sitchin's work. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he wrote books about the Anunnaki and the Nephilim. Supposedly there were extraterrestrials who came and they messed with human DNA. And obviously he was channeling a little bit of a non-canonical biblical story, the Book of Enoch, which is about the Watchers who came to Earth, and they meddled with human DNA, and they bred with women, and they created giants, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of ideas there that was kind of, wow, he's actually going to explore all these stuff, like all these ideas, which is cool because, why not? It's a sci-fi movie. Let's go there. Let's not be afraid to go there. It's a science fiction movie. It's okay. Like, there's no need to offend anyone because you could suspend your disbelief, which is why I was so upset about the deleted scenes, and also upset as to how he told the story. Because I not only that, but I also wanted to see the xenomorph.
Isn't the xenomorph in the final scene?
No, it's a different kind of morph, I guess. I forget the name of it. It's not a xenomorph.
I thought he was it was a baby xenomorph.
He's not exactly the xenomorph.
I forgot. I looked it up, and it's a different one. it's named differently.
I
It's
will-
actually in the thumbnail of the YouTube channel that I posted up on the YouTube channel. It's a thumbnail. I'll find it. I'll find it for you. Go ahead, Sean.
I will admit, like it is a little convoluted because you're looking for that moment right when it turns into the Alien franchise, and there's sort of like these several steps, these several biological steps. Like, well, first it has to be this, and then it has to do this chest bursting or this face hugging, and then it's this, and then maybe that's close to what the alien actually looks like in the future movies. So like I get that, but let me talk about some of the things I like about this movie. Like I think this movie is very hey ho ho. My lights have got to come on. Oh, this was my little gift for Julius for his for his rant. Whoa, whoa.
Yes. I would prefer boo this man. Boo this man. I don't think there's a meme for that one, but I guess just me. Never mind. Go ahead, Sean.
You're well, yeah. I'm not gonna say something mean like she did, like you're the king of garbage or something like that. But
that'd be okay because at least I'm the king of something.
I found this movie very engrossing. Like I just was engrossed in it the whole time. I felt like completely in. It was one of those movies. Ridley Scott's really good at this, where you feel completely immersed in the world that he's creating. He's like a world builder or world creator, right? Mm-hmm. Blade Runner, Gladiator. You know, you really feel like you're there in the ancient Roman times, or even a movie like The Martian, where you feel like everything's so filled out so well, and of course, production design and cinematography and costumes all play into it. But Ridley Scott's so good at bringing all those things together and immersing you in that world. So I really liked that aspect of it. Loved anytime. It's funny, in a lot of movies I kind of resent when they use classic films to there's a like do you ever see that movie Australia with Nicole Kidman?
No.
So in that movie there's a little kid, and the little kid like is obsessed with Wizard of Oz, and they use a part of the Wizard of Oz, like when she goes from the world of black and white into the world of color, and they try to basically they use that in the movie Australia to try to give you the same feeling that Wizard of Oz gives you, but try to make it seem like the movie Australia is giving you that feeling. Typically, and like I resent that because it's like, no, Wizard of Oz did that thing to me. You, Australia, have to do something different to me. You can't just steal Wizard of Oz's moment, literally put Wizard of Oz on the screen in the movie and think I should then feel that way, right? And I get it. It's like you're quoting something. But in this movie, I didn't resent it as much because they're not using Lawrence of Arabia to give you some, like they are quoting it and they are borrowing from it, but they're using it to tell you something about David's character.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed because Lawrence is a person in that movie that's like that thinks he's very important, right? He thinks of himself almost like a prophet or a chosen one. Like he has sort of a messiah complex, right? And I think having David sort of model some of himself off of Lawrence, it makes sense because he's very self-centered. He's very vain, right? And he feels like he has a very particular mission to fulfill, the mission that he's trying to. I think that he's trying to pursue for Mr. Wayland. So I like his character a lot. I love Fassbender's performance. I love Naomi. What's her name? Noomi Rapace.
Noomi Rapace.
Yeah. Noomi Rapace. I love her in the movie because she's like tough as nails, but she's so like also feminine and vulnerable. I love having her sort of in the mold of a Ripley. But a little bit of a different take, like maybe a little more feminine, more vulnerable than Ripley. I love the scene where she's she has such a survival instinct, right? And when she's in that machine and she orders the abdominal surgery and it's like her up, like
that was an intense scene. I'll admit that was a really good scene.
That is that to me, that scene, when I saw the movie the first time, I was just like,
it's like, wild. It's wild.
It's
very
crazy.
Effective. Yeah.
And then like, and especially I've actually had an appendectomy. And so when I watched that scene, I'm like, yeah, right, you wouldn't be walking. But but she is like, she has such a survival. I just really admire her character, right? She's so determined to survive, and she's so determined not only to survive, but to go find the thing that she was looking for, you know? I also appreciate, like, you know, the themes of, or the sort of a subtle theme of faith in the movie where she, you know, they kind of use her, the cross and her faith or whatever, to sort of represent the faith she has in this, in the discovery, and the faith she has that there is some bigger meaning out there, you know? And I love that line when he's like, hey, you can take your cross off now, right? Because we figured this out. And she says something like, yeah, but who made them? Right? Like, she's not content to just, you know, she's not content to just stop there, right? She wants to continue to find out more. She wants to continue to search, and then continue to have faith. So love the mood of the movie. I was never, and this is probably one of the differences between you and I, Julius. I don't dislike the Alien movies. I've watched them, and I actually really like the first Alien. It's kind of
classic,
you know,
classic.
It's probably my favorite of the whole franchise, because Aliens is fun because it's action packed and it's James Cameron and lots of machine guns and stuff. But Alien's very like slow and terrifying, right?
Yeah.
And but anyway, I'm not the hugest like, oh, H.R. Geiger and Alien and, you know, like obsessive about the Alien movies, or like, oh, I love this movie because there's aliens popping out of people's chests and it's like eating people's faces, and that's so cool, you know? So I actually loved that this movie is like just this really slow burn, like, and it's very tense throughout, and you know somehow it's going to lead to the mythology that we're aware of. But the fact that it gives us almost an entirely different a story you wouldn't expect, right? Like if you find, and that's what some people hated about it. Like, I so went to see this movie. There's like not even an alien in it, right? But that's what I loved about it, because it didn't give you anything you expected. It gave you this origin story that was totally fresh, almost could have existed on its own. It didn't even necessarily have to be an alien movie. It stands on its own, just to me, not to Julius, but to me, it stands on its own as just a really compelling, engrossing science fiction movie that's not even necessarily, to me, like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be part of the Alien franchise, you know? And that was another thing.
Exactly,
my friend
that was my
said,
main concern.
Yeah, and that's something my friend said, is like, my friend Tim, he might even be watching right now. Hey, Tim. He said, people don't appreciate this movie on its own merits. And I think that's really true. Like, people, you look to this movie and you want it to be something if you're an Alien fan, right? And if it's not that thing, you're just like sorely disappointed in it. But on its own merits, it's a really engrossing, fascinating, tense science fiction movie. So that's my take.
Then it should have just been a standalone movie in that case.
Well, okay, that's where I want to chime in, because I think my argument is that it kind of is. It is its own thing. It's not, they really didn't sell it as a prequel to Alien. They weren't really trying to sell it as a part of the franchise when it came out.
They did.
No, they were building a mystery around, because they were very coy about it. They were like, we don't know what it is. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And I think that they were really trying to do something that I think is, you know, absolutely agree with what Sean is saying. They decided to make a movie that runs, it's not even really just a prequel. It runs like parallel to the Alien universe. It's telling its own sort of like parallel story in like a different part of the sandbox. And I think that's such an interesting thing. And it's actually, and this is maybe where I have a bias, because this kind of stuff is catnip for me. It's basically taking the themes of Blade Runner and Alien and some of the more dorky world building in both movies and just running with it. And it does that in Prometheus, and it does that in Covenant. And that's why, like, I gravitate towards these two movies. and I've seen them so many times, even though I know inherently when I'm watching them, I'm like, yeah, these have big problems, but I hate the characters. All the characters are just kind of dumb and stupid. And I think that's actually like part of the fun that I think Ridley Scott is having while making the films, is that, and this is what I think is so interesting about how these movies tie into his career now. This guy is in his early 80s. He made this movie when he was in his like mid 70s, and he made Covenant when he was almost 80. And it's weird that a guy who's so close to like kind of, you know, the latter period in his life, the winter of his years, is like out there making movies of this size that are so cynical and so pessimistic about humanity, and how he's actually rooting for the robot, and he's actually like rooting for the aliens, themselves, the biological weapon of it, and how he has like nothing but disdain for the human race and the engineers as well. I just think that's so fascinating. That's it. That's all I got.
That's why I hated it. It was too damn cynical.
And I
okay.
totally understand that.
Yeah.
But it is just weird that he's not pulling a Spielberg and saying, oh, you know what? I'm in my later years and I kind of want to like pull back the cynicism and celebrate humanity. He's like, no, I'm going to go darker. And I just find that so compelling.
Why?
Can I? Because
Why?
Because James's heart is just a black hole.
No, I think he looks at a character. I think he looks at a character like Wayland as like an executive at Fox, somebody who's just like, I am so rich and I'm entitled to answers and I can just throw my money around and just like buy all of the things that I want and just put together this $1 trillion mission that is just a $1 trillion vanity project to go to another planet because I should achieve immortality. And then the whole movie leads up to him face to face with an engineer who's just like, boom, I don't care. And it ties into like something it ties into something that I've always thought would be really compelling, like from just like a, origin of man type of thing, is that I feel like if we ever had the means to find our origin, we would all be very disappointed. It would just lead to more questions. And like, that's why I also love how, like Sean was saying about Shaw's character, that she retains her faith. Because it's like that idea that you don't know how far back things go until you go there and visit it. And then you realize it's just a whole bunch of new questions.
But that's the thing, right? Like, Nietzsche said that like God is dead, right? Wasn't that Nietzsche?
Mm-hmm. That was Nietzsche.
Right?
Sounds like something he'd say.
But it's like,
he wrote it. He wrote it, and I think So Spoke Zarathustra. I think that's the book it came from.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, that book.
Yeah, but, good read. Yeah, love that one.
I mean, or that the age of science, like suddenly, like that religion is just going to disappear, right? Because now we know so much more. And the truth is, like, the more we know, the more we realize. To quote Jack Donaghy, the more you know, the more you realize you do not know, right? Like, there's always going to be questions. There's always we can't know everything, and at some point. That small part of the movie, that small glimmer of light and the crack in the door that he leaves open, that's kind of hopeful. That appealed to me.
I like that, Joseph McCormick.
God did win in the end, so
yeah,
he got the last word.
Oh gosh, well, that still doesn't convince me that the movie's any good, guys.
That's fair. Okay, I have a question to ask you, Julius.
Go ahead.
Because there were two big reasons why I wanted you to watch Covenant. The first one being that I think it's a killer movie. I like it just as much as Prometheus. And when I watched Covenant again this week, I remembered that Prometheus, I actually think they complement each other really well.
Freaking Ryan. By the way, Ryan, for those of you who don't know, Ryan is a comic book creator. He has a book called Thunderella Out. Very talented dude. Very cool, down to earth. I'm glad you're here with us to join us on me bashing Prometheus. But go ahead, James. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Okay. Also, there's a film that Ridley Scott made between these two Alien prequels, and it's called The Counselor, written by Cormac McCarthy. This is a movie, Sean, that I would not recommend to you. I think this would make you hate Ridley Scott. But Julius, if you ever have a chance, I strongly recommend this movie. It's another movie that he made with Michael Fassbender, and it's another movie that is just so utterly pessimistic, so like just misanthropic with how much it hates humanity, and
How much
strongly, yeah, it's like him and Cormac McCarthy are like a match made in heaven, because it is one of the most deeply cynical Hollywood movies I've ever seen in my life. It's just like a bunch of the biggest names in Hollywood at the moment, and he just finds the most amazing ways to murder all of them in the movie and have them come to like the worst fates. I don't think I'm even really spoiling anything. It's a great underrated film, and it also again ties into this interesting period in his career.
So it's a sequel to Happy Death Day, is what you're saying?
I would actually say maybe it's a prequel to Prometheus.
Okay. Oh,
because in a way it has David in it. So I don't know. I don't know.
Real quick.
Unofficially, the prequel.
Unofficial. Yeah, exactly.
What is it with the name David and androids that are close to human but not quite? Because they struck me this time like, oh, David, like AI, right? Like Haley Joel Osment and AI. I don't know why the name David just sticks so well in that type of character.
Well, then there's also Dave from 2001, who's also like, he's not an android or a robot, but that was where I saw basically that the impression that I got from the opening scenes of Prometheus is that basically Ridley's saying like, okay, I'm going to borrow from 2001 a little bit in this movie. My robot's name is going to be David, and he's going to quote Lawrence of Arabia. So he's just kind of like, I don't know, repping for two of the greatest movies of all time, and I'm here for it. And I also agree. The way he incorporates the references to Lawrence of Arabia are actually really great.
I've got to think at the time. So Sony is always restoring Lawrence of Arabia to whatever like technology is currently available. Like there was the DVD release, and then there was the Blu-ray, which is like a 4K scan, and now they're doing like an 8K scan of it. And I think just the availability of like that 4K material, and I think that this was a Sony movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Probably
Fox.
Was this Fox?
Yeah.
Was it Fox? I'm not sure.
Because right when
Fox.
this movie came out and you had that Lawrence of Arabia bit, like it was right around that same time they released the 4K version of Lawrence of Arabia. So maybe one of those happy coincidences that allowed them to use the material in the movie.
I mean, I think that far into the future, he probably pulled out the 70 millimeter print and just like played it inside the spaceship. Because I mean, David's a cinephile, that's the impression that I got. And
or he pulled out a hologram of the 70 millimeter print and then projected the hologram onto the holographic screen. Yeah,
absolutely.
The one positive thing about this for me, because I still think the movie sucks. Okay, because that's always gonna be forever until the day I die. It's gonna suck. And then after this, we'll segue to Covenant, and I'll let you guys know what I thought about Covenant. I do like the fact that Ridley Scott loves myth, and he always pushes myth in his movies. The name Prometheus, for instance, right? Prometheus obviously is the name of the ship, but Prometheus also is the demigod from the Greek, mythological stories. And I have here, I kind of went a little deep here. I kind of went a little rabbit hole, because I was curious, like, why Prometheus? Why Prometheus? Because you can't really look at, like you mentioned, we were talking earlier before we went on live, James. You mentioned we were talking about Zack Snyder and how he took away the subtext and just put the text. And I just love the fact that really
just torched that subtext.
Yeah, just torched. It's like I don't even want to deal with it. I'm just gonna throw it right in their face. I don't care. But I do have a respect for Ridley Scott and the fact that he is almost like a king of subtext. Like you have to kind of dig for his deeper meanings for his films if you do take the time. So Prometheus was like, okay, there's a reason why he chose Prometheus subtextually and subconsciously speaking. And as you know, Prometheus was the Greek, demigod, a supreme trickster. I have my notes here, and the god of fire, which is interesting. And fire was the symbol of knowledge. He stole that from Zeus, gave it to mankind. And for his punishment, let's see here. It says here that the chief god Zeus, who had been tricked by Prometheus into accepting the bones and fat of sacrifice instead of the meat, hid fire from mortals. Prometheus, however, stole it and returned it to Earth once again. As the price of fire and as punishment for humankind in general, Zeus created the woman Pandora and sent her down to Epimetheus, which is hindsight, who, though warned by Prometheus, married her anyway. Pandora took the great lid off the jar she carried, and the evils, hard work, and disease flew out to plague humanity. And if you remember in the first 5 minutes of Prometheus, which I still consider to be one of the best openings in movie history, because he left it open for so much for that first 5 minutes of the scene where you're like, wow, what's going to happen next when he drank that bowl of crap, whatever that was. And, he ended up, dying and then the DNA started restructuring itself, which was pretty cool. And so, plague humanity, hope alone remained within. That's an interesting line. Hope alone remained within. And he goes on to say that as vengeance on Prometheus, Zeus had him nailed to a mountain in the Caucasus and sent an eagle to eat his immortal liver, which constantly replenished itself. So when I read that line, it reminded me of this.
That's overkill. Come on. I don't think the punishment fits the crime, personally.
Well, but when I was watching the movie last night, and then I was thinking about the Prometheus and did my research, I remembered this. Now, This is not an eagle, obviously, but doesn't that look like a beak? And didn't this alien come from the engineer's area where the liver is located? So that's what I mean. Like, I have to respect Ridley Scott's attention to detail, subtextually speaking, because this looks like a beak to me, like an eagle's beak. And here's the engineer, and he came from the midsection, which is where the liver could come from. So, it was highly symbolic, and that's what I had to give Ridley Scott credit for. That's what I liked about the movie, is the fact that it's chock full of stuff you could dig. I just wish he did it better in terms of the surface storytelling.
I think before we move on to Covenant, and I think this becomes really evident in Covenant, one of the things that has made me appreciate Prometheus more over the years is enjoying it as a really intense horror sci-fi film, like on its surface, and then also kind of enjoying the more, the subtext of it to kind of chew on throughout the film. But I really enjoy the filmmaking. I think the set pieces are great. I think the pacing in the movie is pretty great. I really admire it for just being like a clean 2-hour film. And, you mentioned the deleted scenes, and he probably could have like put a couple more in there, but I like how ambiguous the movie is. So I sort of enjoy that, but I do like watching the movie as a really fun sci-fi horror film, like up in the front, and then that there's other things to chew on outside of that. And the original Alien has that as well. It never forgets that it's a horror film first and then everything else second. And I think that's why that film, it's one of my all-time favorites.
In a way, by going into a different area of the sandbox, like you were saying, he's able to make a film that's more of a classic suspense horror type of movie.
Right.
Yeah. And that's another thing I admire. See you, Ryan. Thanks for being another Jack Don. Yeah, thanks for being another Jack Donaghy fan. I appreciate it. But another thing I like about the movie is how contained it is. Like, it takes place. Obviously, there's the kind of opening scenes in the cave or whatever, but then it's like the ship. They wake up. They get to this place. It's very clearly like this alien-made structure, right? And then the entire rest of the movie plays out in that area.
That's true. Yeah.
Between the alien spaceship and their spaceship. And, it's kind of one of those, it's kind of like, the trope that Get Out was kind of playing on, which is like, what, you're in a haunted house, just like leave, like
Right.
get out, just get out of here. Like this movie is kind of like that, where things are like going sideways and it's just like, you guys could like leave, right? Like but there's a lot of hubris and there's a lot of foolishness. And I think all the characters have a level of foolishness to them and folly. And again, James' point, I think that's purposeful. Yeah.
That's a terrible artistic choice.
But that's kind of how people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, look. Okay. Here's why. Okay. Cinema is not supposed to be a total documentary of real life. Okay. We all know in real life there's a lot of stupid people in the world. I totally get that. But cinema is a place of tropes. Okay. So everyone knows the Alien franchise. Most everyone does anyway. We all know the horror movie tropes, right? You don't go to that corner. You don't check out that hole in the wall. You don't check out that dark room. Okay, we know that. And so nowadays, writers have to be smart enough to go, okay, how can we still go there, but without doing the cliche thing? Mm-hmm. Let's make it more creative. Let's try to figure out a way to, oh, dude, that reminded me of this old movie, but they did it a different way. That's awesome. That's cool. We all love that because it shows the creativity in the part of the writer and the director, and it shows that they care enough to get people interested, invested in an old trope, a new take on an old trope, right? Yeah. So that's what frustrated me so much about this movie, because it was Ridley Scott, for Pete's sake. Like, it wasn't some newbie, director. It was Ridley Scott, who's been there before, been there, done that. He should have been wise enough to be like, you know what? Let's not go there, because it's gonna. We don't want to insult the audience.
Well, okay. The movie that throws the wrench into my theory about Ridley being in his weird pessimistic phase of his career is The Martian, and I strongly suggest you watch that movie because it is actually a celebration of smart people making the right decisions, and shows that he's capable of making movies about smart people that do smart things. And have you seen The Martian?
No.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Julius, I meant. Yeah, I love that movie. It's a great movie, and it's very much. It has the aesthetic of Prometheus. It's very much a Ridley Scott sci-fi film, but it's like it's the flip side of that coin. It's a much more upbeat and optimistic movie.
I was just gonna say, like, there's a fatalism in Prometheus.
Yeah, it's true.
And yeah, Joseph McCorkle, love your remark. But there's a fatalism in Prometheus, but I think it works because, the fact that they stay and that they just keep pushing, because they establish all the characters' motivations, right? And the motivation that overpowers everyone else's is Wayland's motivation. So I think and of course, Noomi Rapace's character, she has her own, like, she wants to search for knowledge, like she wants to get to the bottom of things. David has his own agenda, right? I think it all works. Like, you believe it because, well, I believe it. You don't believe it, but
no, I don't.
I believe it because I believe, they're doing dumb things, but I believe in their motivations because it's established well.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you big time, Sean.
I disagree.
This is 2 against 1. It's 2 against 1.
I disagree with that. It's I'm one of the camps that Ridley Scott talked about, that I wanted the xenomorph. I wanted a smarter horror movie from a wise old man who's been around the block and knows, okay, you know what, we've been there before. Let's not go there again. Actually, you have one, Ferris. You have 3 against 1 because Ferris is with you guys. Ferris loves.
Hell yeah.
It's because of you, Ferris. It's because of you. We're reviewing this crappy movie.
The Prometheus Hive is out in force. We're coming to save Ridley.
Prometheus Nation, unite!
Oh, yeah.
So, I think that covers up for Prometheus. So, in the end of the day, I still think it's a terrible movie. No. Let me backtrack there. Not terrible. It's disappointing. It's a very disappointing movie.
This is a win. I'm calling this a win. You went from awful to disappointing. So, okay, 10 more years, and you're going to be like, it's good. It's a good film.
It's going to grow me. It's going to grow me in 10 more years. Yeah. No, it was very disappointing because, like I said, I had high expectations. It was Ridley Scott. He was returning to the Alien franchise. that made him into the superstar director that we all know and love, and he failed in my eyes. He failed miserably. But I will say he made up great with Covenant because I fucking loved this movie.
Oh wow, 180. Didn't expect this.
Loved this. Now I was like, thank you. This is what I wanted.
Wow, this was unexpected.
This. Yeah, I was surprised too, James. I was actually surprised as well. When I started watching it, I was like, okay, let's see if this is also a piece of crap too. But I found myself going, oh my God. Oh no. Don't go there. No. And that's what I wanted in my Alien movie. That's what I wanted. That's all I wanted. And I got it in Covenant. So this was, oh my God, night and day. Night and day for me. It had a little bit of a homage to the second Aliens movie because it was a bit more action packed.
Yeah.
And you had the good android versus the evil android in the second one. But even though in Aliens they didn't fight, but it was nice that James Cameron was again smart enough to go, no, let's not go there. Let's not do the whole the cyborg's evil thing because Ridley Scott already went there. Let's actually make him good. Let's actually follow through and make him into a good cyborg. Because remember that trick, well, not the trick, but the fake out where the ship is gone and everyone's like, oh no, he ended up being evil after all. But then it turns out that no, it wasn't. He actually was.
No, Bishop's a good friend, and he would never abandon Ripley.
Yeah, exactly. So it was great. Bishop was a great character. I love Bishop.
Yeah, it
was a pleasant surprise. So it was kind of like I would say it was a little bit of a homage to that because you had the good android versus the evil android and David. So yeah, I love this, man. Right from the beginning until the end, the only thing I hated about it was Justice Moulier's face. That's about it. Other than that, it was great.
I'm with you. I'm actually with you.
His face?
Justice Moulier. I'm not gonna call him by his real name because he doesn't deserve to be called by his real name.
He's canceled. But yeah, that's the one thing that's aged really poorly about this movie in 4 short years is watching this film. And first of all, he has no presence whatsoever. He brings nothing to the table except now his participation is kind of like problematic, but in hindsight. But anyway, I know what you mean.
Yeah. You know, I was surprised too that James Franco was in it. I was like, whoa, James Franco was in it?
I don't even think he knows he was in this movie.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was really surprised that the beginning of the movie where the accident happens and the ship just kind of goes through like a what was it? What was that they went through, like a wave?
Neutrino burst.
Yeah, so it was cool like that. Not because I really don't like James Franco, but it was just surprising because at the time he was a big star at the time. So I thought, wow, they just put him in the clip of his wife like watching an old video of him, and I was like, oh crap, is that James Franco? Like, oh damn, he died right away. Wow, okay, but I guess his scene was cut because of time, obviously time restraints.
Well, they're also experimenting with an interesting marketing campaign where Franco was actually kind of, I think, front and center in their little marketing vignettes they were doing on like webisodes, aboard the Covenant, and he was at the center of that. And then they kill him immediately in the beginning of Covenant, and that was supposed to be kind of like the shock of that. But
like a Janet Leigh type situation.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what they're going for. Because I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised. I was like, wow, they actually didn't have James Franco, because it would have been interesting to see James Franco in that role as a captain of the ship.
God, if that would have been like Janet Leigh, that would have been like Janet Leigh falling out the window where she's having the affair, and like the opening scene, like within 2 minutes, because he is dead. Like the camera's on his face, and then he lights on fire, and that's pretty much it. But he is in that little video.
Have you seen that movie, Sean? Covenant?
No, I haven't. No.
Ah, okay. No wonder you're so quiet.
Oh boy.
I was like, why is he quiet? I'm not sure why he's quiet.
I had meant to watch it today, but I ran out of time.
Okay, I see.
It's in comparison to Prometheus, this one is a gnarly and nasty little horror movie. It has some intense horror. It's actually really gruesome and a bit troubling to watch at times.
Yeah, it is.
And I loved every minute of it.
How do they work as? Because I know Fassbender's in both of them, right? So how is his character tied between the two movies? Is he the same?
This is such a this is
You want-
this
you
is
want to
spoiling
spoil
the
it for you,
entire
or-
movie. It's such
Yeah.
a spoiler.
Okay,
you
It's
wanna
such a
wait?
spoiler.
I do want to watch the movie, so no, you don't have to.
Okay,
spoil
all right,
it.
then we won't spoil it for you then, because it is a spoiler in the movie.
Okay.
I will say, let me see. There's one note I wrote here that Ridley Scott actually said that he said what changed was the reaction to Prometheus, which was a pretty good ground zero reaction. It went straight up there, and we discovered from it that the fans were really frustrated. Yes, we were really.
He listened to you, Julius.
Yeah, he did. And I have to thank you for that.
Yeah.
I have to thank you for that. So he goes on to say they wanted to see more of the original monster. Yes. And I thought he was definitely cooked with an orange in his mouth. So I thought, wow, okay, I'm wrong. That's what he said.
That's my
I
guy.
have to give him credit for that. He owned up to it and realized, you know what, I overestimated the audience. They wanted to see the xenomorph. Exactly. If you're selling the Alien movie, we have to see the xenomorph. If you're selling the Predator movie, I want to see the Predator.
But that's why they called it Prometheus and not Alien Prometheus.
That is a great point, John.
Xenophius?
Alien Prometheus. I mean, it wasn't called Alien Prometheus. It was called Prometheus.
Yeah, I know. It was still, it was still a terrible decision to do.
Well, I want to say really quick, because I definitely think it's worth not spoiling anything in Covenant, because one of the things that was so fun when I saw Covenant, and Julius, tell me if you felt the same way, was figuring out how it was tied to Prometheus.
Yes.
And it's kind of a very slow burn in how they reveal it. And then once they reveal it, the movie really starts to cook.
Yeah.
And it made me actually appreciate Prometheus more, because I was definitely in the pro-Prometheus category as opposed to the anti-theist. Okay, yeah, anyway. I'm sorry, I had to do it. But yeah, when I saw Covenant, I was actually like, okay, I actually really like the way these two films complement each other. And I mean, there's a rumor that the third one might still happen. I think that when Disney bought Fox, they kind of canceled everything. But
that's right. I forgot about
no,
that.
but there's been a lot of rumors that they are working on a script, and that Scott that might be like one of his next projects that he does. Dude is 83 years old, and he's making 2 films this year. He's got 2 movies coming out this year. He's 83.
This is an image from the movie, Sean. Great image, by the way.
Is that ship pooping something?
Yes.
It's pooping, all right.
It is.
It's definitely pooping, for sure. But
Yeah.
You'll see why. When you watch the movie, you'll understand why this is happening.
Yeah.
I will say this, James, since you watched the film. That opening sequence sold me. That opening scene between Wyland and David, definitely, I was like, wow,
Yes.
this is going to be a different kind of movie. I'm going to dig this. And I especially loved the last, that final part of that scene where, you know, I'm going to spoil it for you, Sean. It's not a big spoiler, but it's just a line that where he says, he tells him, oh, you know, you're looking for your creator and you created me, but I'm going to outlive you. And then after,
I love how annoyed he is.
Yeah, he's really annoyed, and then I just love the fact that he doesn't have a retort to that, or he doesn't have a response to that, and so what does he resort to, like any other power hungry person?
Exactly.
Serve me my tea.
Yes,
serve me
exactly.
my tea, slave. It was great.
Yeah,
that was a great scene. I was like, wow, this is good. So I will have to say this was definitely. I'll admit it, man. I'll own it. It's a home run for Ridley Scott in this one. I thought this movie didn't get the love that it deserved, because I know there's a lot of mixed reviews when it came out, and a lot of people were disappointed with it. But I was like, dude, this is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted in Prometheus, and he gave it to me. I think people were still bitter by Prometheus because I didn't watch this movie because of Prometheus. I refused to watch it, and I think that hurt it. That's why earlier in the stream, I said if he had just released this one first and then Prometheus, then maybe it would have been a little better if that had been the case. But since he released Prometheus first, it left a lot of bad, a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, including myself. So that's why I didn't watch this movie. I didn't want to watch it because I was like, I don't want to. Nah, he's he's gonna summon another bill of goods. I've been fooled once. I'm not gonna be fooled again.
I think that what happened was, I think people kind of went, like the people that were disappointed with Prometheus.
Yes, Joseph
didn't.
McCorkle. That is DNA. That's DNA for sure.
Actually, it does look like. Anyway, So no, I think that people maybe didn't really know how to express their disappointment with Prometheus, and like I think over time that movie, for a lot of people, it just didn't like age well in their head. So I think they brought their backlash into Covenant and just kind of wanted to hate the film. And I went into Covenant like already ready, like, okay, I've heard this movie's bad, and that's what I was kind of expecting. Whereas with Prometheus, it got really great reviews. There were a lot of really solid reviews of that movie, and it was a success. And then Covenant comes out, and it got some love. I think Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, and he gave it a pretty loving, gushing review. And I remember that one at the time, and some other ones as well. And no, like Covenant just was not well received. It didn't make any money. And I went to go see it, and I was like delighted by it. I love the way that it actually mixed together so much of the things I love about the whole Alien franchise. Because there are bad Alien films like 3 and Resurrection, but those 2 movies have some interesting stuff in them. And I feel like this, like Covenant did a really good job of kind of taking all the things I love about the whole franchise and like really playing them up. And as a huge Alien fan, like that's what I really liked about Covenant, was like, okay, this is an Alien film that is also a sequel to Prometheus. And that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah, and I have to say he did a great job meshing the 2 together, even though I was still disappointed with, it's a spoiler, but I think let's see if I could say it without spoiling it.
I'll close my ears.
Okay. What's her name from Prometheus? Her not being in the movie. Yeah, that's the okay. You're good. You're good, Sean. I already said it. Yeah, that's the only thing I didn't. That's my only complaint about it. But other than that, I'm gonna hold my opinion on that until I have a chance to talk to Sean about it. But I will say the one thing I do like about that is that it ties into something that I really like about Covenant, and this is also something that's really interesting about the Alien movies in general, is how they always find an interesting way to pick up in a weird place from where the last movie left off. If you look at Aliens, that movie like unexpectedly takes place 50 years after the events of the first film. Yeah. And then Alien 3, I believe, is like decades later. Resurrection is like, I think 100 years later. And like, it's the same thing with Prometheus. Prometheus starts at a certain point, and then with Covenant, part of the mystery is like, wait, is this the same like universe as Prometheus? Like, do the films have any tie at all whatsoever? And then you realize like, oh, I'm kind of coming into the universe from a very different point that I didn't expect. And it's not very upfront in the beginning of how much time has even passed since Prometheus. And that's like part of the mystery and how it dishes it out. And it's compelling and it's interesting, and it makes the mystery of the movie, fun. It adds to it. There's an article I found online, which I thought the guy who wrote it was very, what do you call it?
Insightful.
He had a good take. He had a good insightful. Thank you. Yeah, he had a good insight, and I'm going to read it to you because I thought it was pretty well done and well written. Director Ridley Scott explores many themes in the film. David, an android, his realization that he's superior to his creator, which is important in the movie. A man is a retelling of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Interestingly, Mary Shelley described her novel as a modern Prometheus. Look at that. It's all connected there. While on the planet, David is often shown to be a man of rich taste and of knowledge. He recites the lines of the poem Ozymandias, which was a great scene, by the way. Where he recites that poem, written by Peter Shelley, Mary's husband. Ozymandias is the tale of a dying civilization, and through this, David shows an intent to finish civilizations and creating his own. David is shown as a person of contrasting emotions. I don't want to. The rest is all spoilers, so I'm going to skip over that. And even after, there's more spoilers. The rest is all spoilers, so I can't read the rest of it. So, but yeah, I thought it was a very good insight on the whole idea of what the Covenant is. Yeah. And gosh, I can't. I feel. See, damn it, Sean. See what you did now? I can't talk about it. I can't talk about the one good thing I liked about this damn trilogy or this supposed trilogy.
Okay,
You know
well,
what? Here, I'm going to turn my volume down, and then you just give me a thumbs up when you're ready.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I think what we'll have to do is either we'll have to maybe do an episode where we cover like, I don't know, Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, and then maybe if you've seen Covenant at that point, we can pick up where we left off.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
if we keep going with this, like we can wait until Ridley Scott finally gets a chance to make the third movie, and then we can just, you know, talk about both. Because I have high hopes. I think that this movie left things off in a place where I want to see where he finishes this story.
Yes, I me too. It really was a redemption for Mr. Scott for this movie, for this franchise anyway. Because I know I in my research I found out that this was because I had thought that Prometheus was an idea he had. And he presented it to the studio, and the studio says, "Well, we like it, but why not? Wouldn't it be cool if you brought aliens back and integrated the alien, mythos to this?" But it turns out that's not the case. It turns out that actually him and James Cameron got together, and they hashed out the idea for a trilogy back in early 2000, all the way back in the year 2000. And then, of course, 9/11 happened, and all that stuff happened. So it was kind of like a work in progress, and then finally, I think back in 2009, that's when he started getting interest back, and then that's when he started working on it, and then eventually, the idea. Apparently, the original idea was supposed to be 6 movies, guys. 6 movies. That was the original idea.
Scott got carried away. I from my understanding, from what I saw, both Cameron and Scott said, if you guys put a Predator and an Alien in one movie and make it Alien versus Predator, you will ruin this franchise and all of its credibility. And they were right. And then they came crawling back later on. And Ridley Scott wanted to make it like he was the one that said, like, I don't want this to have any like real obvious, DNA with the Alien franchise, like right up front. I want to kind of like build into it. And like you said, he listened to the criticisms and he brought a ton of xenomorphs back for the sequel and kind of made up for lost time there. But yeah, it is really interesting. Like, I guess when Covenant was coming out, he was saying, no, there's definitely going to be a third film, maybe a fourth one. He's like, I'll just keep making them. I can keep cranking these out. And then the movie wasn't successful. And it was like, well, sorry, Ridley, I guess you don't get to make your sequels. But I don't know. My hope is the great thing. One of the really interesting things about Ridley Scott as a director is that he is really efficient. He's a really efficient craftsman. And his movies, like, he's very good. He's a very good producer. And if you look at like the budgets on his movies, they tend to be a lot smaller than you'd expect. And he's really conscious. He's really budget conscious. He brought Covenant in for less amount of money than Prometheus. And I don't know, like, I think that he might be able to do like a third film, for maybe less money than your average blockbuster. And, maybe they'll let him do it.
Ferris actually had let me see if we can find it, because he had a good comment here that I thought I should have shared, but we're not on the topic. So it was pretty much saying that he deserves to get the third movie, and I agree with that, because the second one did leave me. I definitely was really impressed with the second one, and even though I'm not a big Danny McBride fan, I have to say he was pretty decent in this movie. I'd say he's I don't like the way he approaches characters, but this one was good.
Very toned down. Very toned down.
Oh, absolutely. And I was like, dude, this is what I wanted from. I was expecting him to be the comedy relief, right? And he kind of was, but he still had. But I think really Scott like told him, hey man, like we're not in a Seth Rogen movie. We're we're in a serious sci-fi movie here. Tone it down a bit, and it worked. It worked for me because I actually liked his character, Tennessee. I liked his character in the movie. Very, very likable, and I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised that he toned it down and not gave me the whole like. It's funny, but at some point it gets old. So that was good.
I agree.
And also, who was the actress who played James Franco's wife? Because I never seen her in anything else, and she was pretty good in this movie too. She was really great.
So her name is Catherine Waterston, and she was on my radar at the time because she was in the Paul Thomas Anderson film Inherent Vice.
Oh,
and
okay.
that movie kind of put her on the map, and it got her a role in those Harry Potter prequel movies. I know has a big role in those.
Right.
And she also got the lead in Alien Covenant. And yeah, she's like a really great type of, Ripley type. And
I was really surprised. I was like, damn, this girl can act. Like, she she act. She also play a very good like action hero too. Like, I was really surprised. I was, like, again, pleasantly surprised. I was surprised all around in this movie. I did not think I liked this movie at all. And
especially if you hated Prometheus in the second time, you're like, oh, well, I'm really gonna hate this sequel. And I'm actually surprised, because I thought you were going to do a little bit of a 180 on Prometheus, and then Covenant would make you appreciate it more. But it sounds like you still disliked Prometheus, but I'm really surprised that you were like all in on Covenant.
Yeah, I watched Prometheus with my wife again, and even she was like, "This is terrible." So I'm not alone, guys.
Shame,
I'm not alone.
shame.
And even she told me, like, because she was doing her homework, but she was listening to it. And she kept looking up, going, "What the hell?"
Okay, come on. I mean, yeah, the dialogue's not great. The dialogue in the first Alien is pretty cheesy, and Aliens as well. Like, a lot of like really cheesy stuff in both movies.
But that was the 80s. That was the late 70s, James. That's excusable.
I know.
It's not excusable in the 21st century. In the 21st century, you should have enough encyclopedic knowledge as a writer and a director to go, you know what? We've been there, we've done that. Let's not go there again.
It's a solid argument. Else. Okay, one thing I do also want to say about Prometheus and Covenant is that, and I don't think these movies get enough credit for this, is that like the body horror is horrifying in both movies.
Yes.
Like they both really do that. They really play up that kind of, it's there and obviously in the first Alien, but it's also kind of reminded me of David Cronenberg, how like the body being invaded and turned into something else.
Yeah.
And it's really great in Prometheus, and it's really horrifying the way that things start to go south in Covenant.
Yeah.
And the way it happens, especially in like a, living in a COVID situation with them like breathing. I was just like, oh, this is rough. Why are they not wearing masks? What is going on here? Yeah.
Sean, were you going to say something?
Oh, I think Ferris just said we should review Edge of Tomorrow, and I would totally be into that.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that movie. Edge of Tomorrow was one of those movies that surprised me when I watched it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
My friend, I remember I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, I wasn't a big Tom Cruise fan at the time anymore. But then my friend rented it, and he brought it over.
I think
and I watched it, and I was like, holy crap. This is actually good. This is actually a good movie. Wow, I'm surprised.
I think it might have been Bill Paxton's final, if not his final, maybe one of his final performances.
And he got a great one in there on his way out. Just iconic,
that's right.
Iconic Paxton.
He did. Yeah. It's for me, it's one of his best or most enjoyable performances. Yeah.
He's so fun in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Game over, man. Game over.
Game over. Yeah. Agreed, Ferris. Agreed. It is a classic. Peace be upon Mr. Bill Paxton. He was pretty great. It's funny because I'll share a story with you guys. I was watching a behind the scenes a documentary about the Titanic, and he plays the explorer, right?
He sure does.
For treasure. And my friend was watching it with me. And, he was talking about his character and whatnot. And my friend was like, who are you? Who is this guy? Why are they like, he's like a big star or something. And like 5 minutes later in the documentary, they start showing the amount of movies he was in with James Cameron. And he was like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude, Bill Paxton is he's been in everything. What's Weird Science? What other movies has he been in that's not outside of James Cameron?
I was thinking of The Abyss, which is James Cameron, but he has a really great.
That's my Cameron blind spot. And guys, I was gonna watch it this last weekend because I saw it was on Prime, and I'm like, no, check this out because this is really depressing. So the reason I haven't seen it is because it's not available anywhere, and so I saw it was on Amazon Prime, and so I was like, okay, I'm finally gonna watch it. This is the weekend. I turn it on, and the movie is in pan and scan. It's in the Snyder format. I was so disappointed. And I mean, there is no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that in 2021. Yeah. That's like a crime against humanity to do that. So, yeah.
That happened to me once. I rented I'd never seen that movie, The Queen, and I rented it from like YouTube, and like everyone's head was like cropped off. It was like totally formatted incorrectly. It was.
And for The Queen, you really need that widescreen.
Well, I mean, listen, listen, James. I need widescreen.
Really get the full scope of Helen Mirren's performance. You just got to get the widescreen.
Listen, I need widescreen for the Mighty Ducks. Okay, I need widescreen for Air Bud. Like, it doesn't matter what I'm watching.
I'm a snob when it comes to this kind of stuff too. Yeah,
you'd be surprised.
The original aspect.
I can't.
Sean, how many people hate widescreen?
Yeah, they're not cinephiles.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people are out there who they loathe widescreen. They want their screens to be completely full. And I have a lot of friends who hate, like, every time I watch a movie that I do, can you take off those 2 bars from the screen? It looks too small. That's what they tell me. It looks too small. Can you take them off? So it's
Julius,
I would tell them to go home. I'd be like, go home. Call an Uber, get out of my house.
I think Julius needs to rethink his
Nightcrawler, Apollo 13, and Predator 2. That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a Nightcrawler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
widescreen.
No, and I get it because my friends are not cinephiles. They're, we are cinephiles because we took it to the next step. We grew up watching films, we loved them, and then we went to school and we studied it because we were curious to know how this magical thing called cinema was made. And Sean, I wish you were with us when we talked about cinema, because I think you would have added a lot more to the plate when we were talking about the history of cinema. And
when was that?
It was when you were gone for the weekend for the shoot that you were doing.
Yeah,
it was kind of interesting because every time we were like grasping for like a trivia fact about classic cinema, we're like, if only Sean was here, he'd know the answer to this. So yeah, it was just a lot of that.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool because we didn't really know what to do, so we were kind of just winging it as we went along. But we kind of went down the historical route of how cinema progressed, how it went from Nickelodeons to D.W. Griffith and the creation of close-ups and dramatic and music, and then so on and so forth. But yeah, we'll do another one. We'll do another one where we probably talk about the history of it, so that way.
Okay.
Because it was fun. It was a lot of fun going on Wikipedia and finding out like, oh, look, I never heard of this guy, this director. So you may have a lot more to offer than we did because we just had Wikipedia.
Definitely
to rely on.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I knew more about the silent era than the average person, but I'm still not like an expert.
You know what? At this point, James had a good view on it, which was like the times were so much terrible back then.
That's what we kept coming back to. It was like, God, it must have sucked to live back then. For so many reasons. We're so spoiled with our smartphones.
Because we talked about the train robbery. The train.
The train arriving at the station, right?
That's right. Yeah, it was that.
Lumiere Brothers, 1895. Yeah. Gotcha.
And I was calling bullshit on the people in the audience running away because I was like, no, come on. There's no sound. It's black and white. It's projected on a wall. You bozos didn't think a train was trying to roll you down. That's some like sensationalist horseshit. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
And I realized right then and there that I would have been the guy running away when I saw it because I totally believed it.
Yeah,
I totally believed that story.
Think about the time, I think about when I was a kid, right? And I was watching Captain EO at Disneyland and, the little creature flies out and I was like grabbing at it, because I got my 3D glasses on and it looked like it was right there, right in front of me. That's how I've always imagined that. Now it's true. It's kind of like apocryphal. We don't really know if that happened or not, but I can see it happening. And actually, in Martin Scorsese's Hugo, he recreates that moment in a really convincing way where, I think he does it very realistically where you're like, oh, it's not like people are screaming and fainting or anything, but they're kind of like,
That's true. Maybe I was kind of thinking about that. I haven't watched that movie in years, but it may have been. I also recommended that movie to you, Julius, I think last weekend.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if I brought it up at that time. And I'm curious, Sean, if you've seen this film or not, but it's a personal journey through American film by Martin Scorsese. It came out in like the mid 90s. And it's just him riffing for like 4 hours about his favorite American films. And it is glorious. It's just like the biggest expert in movie history just talking about the history of cinema. And it's amazing.
I think I've seen
it's so
that,
good.
That documentary.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I think I saw the first half of it. It was fantastic.
I watched like the first hour of it and I turned it off because he literally ruins every movie he talks about. Like, he literally is like, true. In this movie, and then at the end, this happens.
Sean, what the hell?
And I was kind of like, well, I would rather he just like say like, oh, this movie's great, you should watch it, and then I would watch it. You know?
No, but he's doing it in like a masterclass way. He's like talking about like how one movie does one thing and that leads into the next thing, and just like kind of the history of it. And he has to like be full spoiler alert on that, you know? And like that was the mid 90s. People didn't really care about spoilers. People weren't like, oh my God, you spoiled this movie for me.
That's true. It's just that I think especially at that time, like maybe I had more unrealistic ambition to actually see all those movies, you know, where I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to see all these movies, so I can't have them ruined for me. But I would probably get more out of it now, where I'd just be like, yeah, life's short. I'm probably not going to see all these movies. Teach me, you know?
Yeah, speaking of Scorsese, did you guys hear? I think the news came out today from Paul Schrader that he and Scorsese are collaborating on a series. I think a streaming series, a dramatic series about Christianity. And
Paul Schrader of Taxi Driver, screenwriter,
and Last Temptation of Christ, and he's and Scorsese.
First Reformed, right? Was his
First Reformed.
So they're going to make a dramatic series about the history of Christianity.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't reveal a whole lot else about it, but I was intrigued. I don't know. I don't know if Scorsese's going to direct it or what, but like this is a very like reflective and thoughtful period in his career, and this is a guy that just made Silence a few years ago, and that just sounds like it's right up my alley.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I would love that.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's the perspective of two people. That's a lot. That's a lot to showcase. Who knows?
I don't know if
Hey guys, the headline on IndieWire: Martin Scorsese, Paul Schrader reunite for quote 3-year series end quote about quote origins of Christianity.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that going to cover the Council of Nicaea, or it's just not enough detail to talk about exactly what it's going to be about?
I think he mentions.
What does that mean exactly?
What, the Council of Nicaea?
Yeah, or like what does that mean exactly? The history of Christianity, like what?
I think it's it explores. I think he said something about exploring the origins of the New Testament.
Sean. You're like, I don't know. The New seasons put the New Testament then. In other words,
It's based here. We go. Schrader says it's based on the Apostles and on the Apocrypha. And the Apocrypha is like part of the Catholic Bible. It's not part of the Protestant canon.
I see.
It's called the Apostles and the Apocrypha because people sort of know the New Testament, but nobody knows the Apocrypha. And back in the first century, there was no New Testament. There's just these stories, and some were true and some weren't, and some were forgeries.
Yeah.
Huh.
And this is also, so Scorsese just made Silence, and Julius, if you've never seen First Reformed, great film, one of the best movies the last few years. I loved that movie.
I actually haven't seen it yet either.
Oh, you haven't seen it either? It's an intense watch. It's maybe a one and done.
Wow.
It's got Ethan Hawke in it, and it's filmed in Snyder scope. It's the Academy ratio. He totally ripped off Snyder 3 years ago.
Snyder invented 1:33 to 1, by the way.
He did, and he invented it just a few years ago. Yeah, he sure did.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Good film.
Well, I think that covers it up.
Yeah.
No, that wraps it up. Wow. Sorry, I've been drinking.
Wait.
So I'm a little buzzed. So
no, Julius. I think that's a Freudian slip because you're like, Prometheus is so shameful. We need to cover
I'm
it
gonna
up.
cover it up. Oh, I want to say one thing about Prometheus before we leave, because I want to know if I'm in the minority here.
God, no.
One question. I liked Noomi Rapace. I thought her performance was good, but apparently the first choice was Charlize Theron in that role, and I kind of wish they went with her.
Oh,
Like,
wow,
she
really?
Yeah, and she couldn't do it for scheduling reasons, and then like I guess her schedule opened up, and she was like, "I want to be a part of this movie, so I'll play the Vickers character." And I mean, like, her death is like the dumbest part of Prometheus. Like, I think she was such a cool character, and like I wanted her to be revealed at the end to be a robot. I thought that would have been really cool if it actually turned out that she was a robot.
How could that be? How could it have happened if she had sex with Idris Elba? There's no way.
No, but I think that the robots can do that. I'm pretty sure they can get down. Okay, they're programmed for it, I think.
Okay, let's not take it there. Let's take it back.
Well, technically, Data from Next Generation was programmed for that. So
there you go. Look, it's canon.
It's within the realm of android possibility. According to Star Trek.
No, that's okay. All right.
But I
had no idea that. I had no idea that was actually a thing. Wow.
There was a theory when Prometheus came out that her character didn't know she was a robot. And I think it would have been interesting to explore that idea, but by having her smashed by the spaceship, it just doesn't matter whether she was or not, because she has the stupidest death. So yeah, but
yeah,
I don't know. I wish she was
many stupid things in that movie. So
it was just the one stupid thing.
You just added more to my list, James, of stupid things.
You forgot about that one.
I forgot about that one. I did, yeah. I did, because what's her name? Noomi Rapace. Yeah. She really was great in that movie. She was good. Yeah, my wife, she had a good observation about it. She said that she's not really good at, or her opinion, not mine. That she didn't really like her drama scenes, but she said she was really good. Like, she was like really phenomenally good on her like distress scenes. How she was
her like physical scenes.
She said she was really like, oh my God, I actually believe like she's in pain. Like, wow, she's actually really freaking awesome.
I think she was struggling with the English language a little bit in the movie. I think so. And I don't know, like I didn't become a huge
right?
I think so, yeah. She was in the Dragon Tattoo film. Yeah, like I didn't become a huge Charlize fan until Mad Max, but after that, I like retroactively now think she's like one of the great actors. And talk about a physical performance, like that's one of the greats in Fury Road. But yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, Ex Machina is great.
I was thinking about Ex Machina when we were having that Android conversation.
Yeah,
good movie.
Yeah,
there's so many movies we could watch and review, guys. They make them faster than we can review them.
Yeah,
we should only do movies with androids. That'll narrow it down a little bit, you know.
So should we start with like the first movie with an android, like Metropolis?
Yeah, Metropolis. Yeah,
Metropolis. Yeah, we can't let that one out. We should probably do it for like a month. Maybe if there's a science fiction month or something, I don't know. We could probably dedicate a whole month of just science.
Well, Dune's coming out later this year, so.
Oh, that's right.
We'll have to cover David Lynch's Dune.
Yeah. No, that was still pretty good though. That was still no. I take it back. That was still a good movie. But
I haven't seen it in many years. I remember it being weird.
I remember trying to watch
it.
Yeah.
I remember trying to watch it and just being like, and I was like young. I was like 17 or whatever. But I remember trying to watch it and being like so repulsed by it that I turned it off like a third of the way through. Like there's this scene where this guy, like he starts like inflating himself and he starts floating and then he like explodes or something. It's so disgusting.
Yeah, are you sure you weren't just watching Blue Velvet?
Maybe.
Like Blue Velvet.
Maybe it was Twin Peaks.
That sounds like some Twin Peaks. Yeah.
No, that was Velvet, right? Blue Velvet. Dennis Hopper?
That's Blue Velvet. Oh yeah, that's Blue Velvet.
Dennis Hopper,
for sure.
Yeah.
I've never gotten into Lynch.
Lynch he's a freaking. The first Lynch movie I'd ever seen was Mulholland Drive. That was the first one, and just like Network, I was channel surfing and I fell right on the scene. Have you seen that movie, Mulholland Drive? Oh yeah, James, I know you've seen that movie. Sean, you haven't seen Mulholland Drive? Okay. Well, James, do you remember that scene where what's the actor's name? Gosh, the director.
Justin Theroux.
Justin Theroux.
Yeah.
It was a scene where he was talking to the movie producers, and they kept telling him, "This is the girl.
This is
right?
the girl." Yeah.
This is the girl. And I was, like I said, channel surfing, and I stumbled onto that channel, and that was the scene where I stumbled into, and I was like, "What the fuck what's happening here? What's going on?" And they kept saying it. This is the girl. This is the girl. And he's like, no. He's like, Justin Theroux's like, no. I got the top Hollywood actresses for this movie. Like, no, this is not good. The girl. Like, oh, this is the girl. And then he sips the
espresso. Yeah.
And he spits it out, and then everyone starts freaking out. And I'm like, dude, what's happening? What's going on? And then I couldn't stop watching after that.
Yeah.
After that, I was like sucked in. And then I was like, and then I found out it was David Lynch. And then I knew David Lynch because of Elephant Man. My dad was a huge fan of Elephant Man.
I have seen
that. That was one of my dad's favorite movies, Elephant Man. And I remember when I watched that movie as a kid, I was really disturbed by it.
Yeah, that's a rough watch.
It really is a rough watch. And I was surprised that my dad let me watch it at the age that I was in. But I guess he would. Huh, Sean?
There's a shot in that movie where Hopkins' character sees him for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's just and then it's just a zoom in on Hopkins' face, and he's just crying this tear. And it's in movies to me.
Yeah, that shot gets brought up a lot. And I remember, I've only seen the movie once, and that was a one and done for me. That movie just wrecked me when I first saw it. But I distinctly remember the way the camera kind of dollies in, and it catches Hopkins' tear at the right moment. It's great.
Yeah, very powerful. And I was surprised that David Lynch directed that movie.
Yeah,
because it was totally different from Mulholland Drive. Right?
Well, do you know this? Do you know the story? You know the story behind that? Apparently, Mel Brooks had the rights to it.
Mel Brooks wanted to direct it, but he didn't want. He wanted to direct it, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think he knew off the bat he couldn't do that. He knew he couldn't because people would think it was maybe about a literal elephant man, and it would be funny. So I don't know.
Yeah, right. So he hired David Lynch because he saw Eraserhead,
right,
and was really impressed by Eraserhead, and thought this is the guy that needs to direct this. That might, the Elephant Man, which is what I want to make. And again, that movie is an enigma, man. It all in itself, Elephant Man. Mel Brooks produced it. Mel Brooks, the producers, Spaceballs. How it's amazing. It's amazing to me that he actually got this property and went I want to make this movie.
Yeah,
this is very important.
Julius, weren't you telling me that one of you guys was mentioning in our Silence of the Lambs episode that they cast Hopkins kind of against type, and Hopkins was like, "Why do you want me for this role?"
Yeah,
because he was coming off Elephant Man, right?
No,
I think 1984.
No, it's 80.
80.
Hopkins was ready to hang it up because his career never really took off after Elephant Man, and so I definitely think there was that, and
and he was saying something I play. They chose him because of Elephant Man, but he was saying, but I play a good man in that.
Right.
Yeah.
And Demi was like, one of you guys was mentioning this on our show. Do you remember?
Yeah, I think James
so.
Mentioned
Yeah,
that.
maybe.
James mentioned that.
And then maybe Demi said well, Hannibal Lecter is a good man from the certain point of view, right?
Right.
And that's why Silence of the Lambs worked, and it's amazing that it was a perfect role for him for that time. But Elephant Man for me as a kid was just devastating. It broke my heart.
That movie had
as a kid.
Gorgeous cinematography, just
it sure does.
Jaw dropping. It's done by a guy named Freddie Francis, if my memory serves me, and he's a really magical cinematographer. Yeah,
so I can't say I'm surprised that you couldn't get into Lynch, Sean, because Lynch is definitely an acquired taste for sure. Because the reason why I like him anyway personally is because I like that he explores the unconscious side of mankind, and he just goes for it. Twin Peaks is a very, very crazy show. I have not seen the movie yet. I'm still waiting on the movie because I'm still watching the show. But Mulholland Drive was definitely the movie for me where I was like, wow, this guy has something. And then I started watching Blue Velvet and all the other movies that he's made. He actually directed Straight Story. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, James.
I've seen it. That was yeah.
Yeah, he directed that for Disney. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I've heard that's a really good movie.
He had to have lost a bet or something, and it was, or somebody dared him to do it, and he was like, "Can you make a G-rated film for Disney?"
I think he did it for a payday so he could finance. I think it was Inland Empire. I think it was.
No, that was too far out. I don't know if it was for a paycheck because that movie is weird in its own way. It's a G-rated film that the whole family could enjoy, basically.
Yes, Joseph, I have heard of that. I saw a documentary where he talks about that, which is very interesting, very fascinating. It's crazy. It's crazy what he does. Yeah, but I've heard of what he does. That's what creates his ideas. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you're mentioning it right here. Yeah, he just meditates and gets ideas, and he says he doesn't exactly know why the idea is interesting, but then he goes on with the project and he figures it out. Yeah. That sounds like Mr. David Lynch.
Well, the weird thing about Lynch is that Lynch made Inland Empire, and that kind of came out of his meditation. A lot of his ideas came out of that, and he was so excited about having this sort of consumer grade technology where he could just be free of the shackles of film and make what he wanted to make. And then he just didn't make a movie for 10 years. And it's well, then you had all these tools to do it. Why did you not do it? Then he makes Twin Peaks, and that's an 18-hour show. The third season, and he directed every episode, and I was like, okay, that's where it went. He was saving it all up for this insane 18-hour David Lynch movie. Which, if you guys have never seen it, watch it. It'll change your life.
I'm gonna work my way up to that because the Twin Peaks show was freaking on a whole different level.
Yeah, his third season that just came out a few years ago is the weirdest shit you'll ever see on a TV show.
I can't imagine not being weird. It has to. It goes hand to hand, with
it's they basically gave him all the money and said, make 18 episodes of whatever you want. We don't care. We won't even watch it. We'll just air it. And he's like, oh shit, okay. And the result is
I guess I'll do it. It's wouldn't that be your dream, Sean? If someone just can, here's a bunch of money, do whatever you want. We don't care. Just do it. I guess I'll do it. All right. I guess I'll make this show.
I would just pocket it and retire, to be honest. I would just hang out all day and watch movies.
I would be happy if someone just said, here's $500,000 every year. Make one Western. Make a Western every year. $500,000, right?
Oh, wait a minute! Wow. I read yesterday that Scorsese's making a Western.
No.
Yeah, that's what I read yesterday.
No, it's Killers. It's Killers of the Flower Moon. It's not a Western.
It's been described as a Western. It takes place in the 1920s, but it's been described as a Western. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it had a Western flavor to it.
I was so excited. I was like, Scorsese making a Western? Oh, hell yeah. I'm down for that.
But I thought it was just the 50s with men in hats and suits. I don't know. That's what I thought.
I hope it's a Western. That'd be great if it's a Western.
I'm down.
Yeah, I've heard Scorsese Western.
I've heard some good things about this film. Scorsese is really going for something with this movie, and a lot of people are really excited because people familiar with the source material say if he's faithful to it, it could be an incredibly meaningful film. Too. And so I'm very excited.
It says it's about the murders of members of the Osage tribe, which sparked a major FBI investigation involving J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh, okay. So it's not really Western then.
It's set.
That's why I didn't think it was.
We will follow the investigation of a series of murders of wealthy people in Osage County, Oklahoma, in the early 1920s.
Question: is DiCaprio reprising his role as J. Edgar Hoover from the Clint Eastwood film?
Shared universe, cinematic shared universe.
Oh wow!
Well, DiCaprio is in the movie.
He is, yeah. He actually stepped down from the lead role, and they gave it to Plemons, and DiCaprio came in to play a supporting role with De Niro.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
so you got De Niro and DiCaprio both playing supporting roles, and Jesse Plemons is in the lead.
In Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower
Yeah.
Moon.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's kind of disappointing. I was kind of hoping for 1800s type of, but then again, the Western genre is kind of I mean, really, there's no reason to make Westerns nowadays, right?
It'd be weird to see De Niro in a Western that takes place in the 1800s. I don't know. He'd seem a little anachronistic. I don't know.
he could pull off like one of those like bums that live in the Western, like the drunkards, like all like with their
I wonder.
what are those called? Those pajamas they used to wear? I don't know what they call them. They had the buttons in the back.
Sounds like a supporting character in like a John Ford movie. Yeah,
like a drunkard, like a John Huston type of character.
Or it sounds like the guy in the old Crazy Moon movie from Hail Caesar. That that curses the moon and then he jumps in the water.
Yeah, that's exactly right there.
Crazy
darn moon.
Yeah, you darn moon. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking, Sean. You hit the nail right on the head with that one.
So why does Scorsese like Jesse Plemons so much? That's my question. Anyone know?
I think that Plemons has just been rising up, and he hasn't worked with. Wait, no, he was in The Irishman, right?
He was in The Irishman. He plays
a very brief role.
Kind of he had a decent sized role. He plays
well, in that 4-hour movie, he's in only 30 minutes of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, Pacino plays. Why is my brain?
Hoffa, Jimmy Hoffa.
He plays Hoffa's son.
Hoffa Jr. Yeah.
Hoffa Jr. What a cute kid. All right, guys. Well, are we?
Yes. Yeah. We went off.
We wrap it up.
Yeah. Prometheus.
Let's wrap it up. It's already 9:00.
Good film. I'm glad
this is what Talking Cinema is all about, Sean. Talking Cinema is all about talking cinema, man.
Dude, I'm pleased as punch.
And I get that it's late, but it's Friday night. But then again, I do know that people have plans and people might be hungry, so I get that. But with that said, yes. Thank you guys for joining us for the show. I would like to thank the people on the chat who joined us. Joseph McCorkle, Ferris Jabbar, always a pleasure to have you guys on the show and commenting. ID Crisis with us, but ID Crisis jumped out because we're about to talk about Covenant and he hasn't seen it. He didn't want to get spoiled with it, so he bailed.
It's worth going in cold on that one.
Yeah, no, it was because for me it was like I said, I was pleasantly surprised how good that movie was.
Yeah.
Wildbot 88 was with us for a while before he jumped out. And I think that's about covers it for the people who joined us in the stream tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Definitely. He's back. ID Crisis is back. Well, you missed out on some spoilers, but we didn't keep it. We didn't spoil it because Sean, our colleague here, has not seen it, and we want him to. I'm not the only one. I have someone on my side.
We're gonna have to split all of this into two camps from this point on. It's gonna be the pro
Prometheus and
the Antitheus. And I'm really glad I'm not in that camp because I don't have to say that. So that's on you guys.
All right then. So next week, you want to do a bye week where we don't do the show, and then the next week we'll do the Tuesday show, or Sean, you have to get back to us with that.
I can't participate next Friday because I'll be out of town. So if you guys do want to skip Friday, then that'd work for me. So,
Sean, will you be available? No, next Friday. No, you're doing your shoot next Friday, right? Next weekend. Sean, I remember you mentioned that to me.
Yeah, let me bring up my calendar.
Oh, consult the calendar.
Let's see.
Ferris had a question. I forgot. That was the question I wanted to find. What sequence did each of you like that remind you of the original film or felt like in the same canon in Prometheus and
I would say the surgery sequence.
Was that an original? Was that like a remind you of the original?
Just the intensity of it.
Kind of the reverse of it.
The intensity of that scene reminded me of the intensity of the the chest burst scene in the original Alien movie when they're all sitting around the
Yeah.
dinner table. You know, the
You're
dinner
right.
table.
Yes, you're right.
And he
You're
starts
right.
convulsing and like they don't know what
Yeah.
to do. Like that scene, to me, they have a similar intensity to them.
You're right. You're right. Well, there
But
you go.
if you want to go with parallels, there is literally the sort of mess hall scene in Prometheus, right? You have a similar dynamic, I think, among the crew of like the sort of more blue collar seeming crew and the more like erudite seeming crew. So yeah, there's a lot of parallels there.
Those didn't affect me as much as just the capturing the aesthetic of the first movie, which is like I think one of the best looking movies ever made, and I love all of those like tracking shots down like empty corridors in the spaceship and like just all of that beautiful detailed production design, and it's definitely there in Prometheus, and you're like, okay, the guy that made Alien is making this movie. It feels very much like it's aesthetically linked to that film. So.
Yeah, for me, Ferris, it was definitely the feeling of isolation. You know, the first Alien, you felt like you were alone with them in space because you can't call for help, right? You can't dial 911 and hey, there's an alien trying to killing our crew. You can please help us.
That'd be convenient.
Yeah, I know, right? But you're screwed.
I'll be right on that.
Yeah, you're screwed on that one. And this one had the same feeling of like isolationism. Like you're alone. No one can help you. Like you're. If you can't help each other out, then you're done, and that's what happened in Prometheus.
In space,
that's what it reminded me of the original one was that the feeling of isolation of like, oh my god, like if anything goes wrong, that's it, we're screwed. Like there's something you could do.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Exactly.
Hey, that reminds me. Did you guys think it was crazy that in space David can watch you dream?
Yeah. What the hell was that about?
Not into that.
What the hell was that about? Seriously,
I think that should have been on the poster for Prometheus in space. David,
because think about it. In the original Alien, you couldn't even do that in the original Alien. But then all of a sudden, the prequel, hundreds of years before the first Alien, now you could do that. Like, come on.
No, I buy it. I buy it because you could say, okay, the people on the crew of the Nostromo were like these working class stiffs. They didn't have access to that tech. But here is David, who's Wayland's creation, Wayland's son, of course. Yeah, he has.
You're coming off as an apologist, James. That's what you're coming off as, an apologist for a terrible movie like Prometheus.
I'm shilling for Ridley. He's paying me to say good things about him. He's got a movie to promote, so
Hey, you know what? I can't fault you for making money. So kudos to you.
How about Patrick Wilson as the holographic dad in her dream?
That was surprising. Yeah, that was surprising. I was like, hey, Patrick Wilson, good for you getting a little part in this movie.
That actually, I was thinking, I wish that he was cast in the husband Holloway role because
he's a better actor than that other guy.
I actually think that actor is kind of solid, but the worst thing that ever happened to that guy was Tom Hardy because they look so much alike, and Tom Hardy is just such a better actor.
Wait a minute. You think that?
Logan Marshall Green, I think he and Tom Hardy look a lot alike. Yeah. That's just that I've heard it said before, but like I've actually mistaken the two.
I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it at all.
No.
I don't see the resemblance.
Okay.
Well, it's just me. It's just me. Maybe other people will say otherwise, but I never even thought of that.
Wait, hang on.
But like
hang on. Julius, you're about to see it. Are you ready?
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, 1 second. Sorry, I'm not as quick on the trigger as you.
I'm curious now because now I'm like I'm trying to like put it together, but I can't see it in my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the shaved head and the beard.
Yeah. I can see it here. What movie is this from?
I don't know, it's just from his Spider-Man Homecoming.
Homecoming, yeah.
So if you put a mask on,
that's right. That's the guy who got killed by Michael Keaton in the movie.
Yeah.
Just imagine a mask on him, whether it's an airplane fighter pilot mask from World War II or a Bane mask, and you pretty much got Tom Hardy.
Definitely, you're right. Okay. I can see that.
Darkness is your ally.
You merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it, raised by it.
I'm giving it back to you, the people.
Yeah, what do you say? By the time I didn't see the light until I was an adult or something like that.
I don't know. I blocked a lot of
forgot.
it.
That was a great scene, by the way. That was a fantastic scene. I love that scene. That's one of my favorite Nolan scenes.
Actually, that movie, we really just I think we just want to talk cinema tonight, guys, because we're
I think so. Going. Yeah, why not? Why not?
That movie's such a guilty pleasure for me. Like, I think it's probably the weakest of the three Nolan Batman movies.
I agree with that. Yeah,
but I'm so glad it exists. It brings me like so much joy. It's just fun. It's fun and funny. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that, to me, like, I actually just rewatched the three movies recently, and I like going back to The Dark Knight because that's one of my all-time favorite movies. I could be okay never seeing Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises ever again. Like, I could leave, if I was going to a desert island, I'd leave those two behind and take two different Nolan movies with me. But they're fun movies. I do enjoy them. They're good.
I'm curious. Which ones would you take with you, James?
Oh, I mean, like Inception, Interstellar.
Those two? Okay.
Tenet.
No, you said two. You said two.
What about Prestige?
The Prestige,
my friend.
If I could keep bringing them, I'd keep them coming, And then eventually I'd take the other two Batmans if I had room.
For me, it'd be Memento and Prestige. For me,
yeah, those are two great movies. Yeah,
and I will say his first film, his first indie film before Memento. I forgot the name of it.
Following.
Yeah, that was great, man. That was a great film.
Yeah, solid movie. Yeah,
very solid, very very solid. So Sean, next Friday you're shooting, right?
Actually, I'm not. No.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, I'm not.
Well,
yet. No, I start my shoot like May 6th or 7th was when I'll be heading up there.
Okay. So we can still meet next Friday, and we'll do the same thing what James and I did last week, which was we won't talk about a movie. We'll just talk about other things, another subject, if you like. You can choose what you want to talk about. We could talk about the state of the industry. We could talk about the history of cinema. We could talk about cameras. We could talk about lighting. Whatever the case may be, we'll do what James and I did last week, which was just talk about cinema, our love of cinema. And I think the topic was supposed to be about how cinema influenced American culture. I think that's what it was, right, James?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how it had an effect
real
on
lofty ambitions,
culture, and also an effect on our lives growing up.
Maybe we could talk about a TV show, Julius.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Like a sitcom or something we were both familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
And we would change the name of the show just that one week to Talking Sitcoms.
Situational comedy. Okay, yeah, we'll have to choose. Maybe we could talk about the history of sitcom and how it started with I Love Lucy, because I Love Lucy was the pioneer of the sitcoms. She's the one that her and Desi Arnaz were the ones who pretty much created the formula, and what we see today is what they created all those years ago when television was first created. So
that's true. Actually, the cinematographer Carl Freund was, I think he might have even won like a special award for creating the multi-camera setup.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
He was like a pioneer because, like, yeah, Lucy and Desi were definitely pioneers, but Carl Freund was the one who like designed it and was like, okay, here's how we're going to design the set. Here's how the lighting is going to be designed. Here's how the cameras are going to work. So
because she was a theater actress, right? And she didn't want to do cuts. She wanted to do just straight theater. Like, let's just do it like theater, but just have cameras everywhere. So, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think Desi Arnaz told the television studio that his wife didn't want to do cuts. She was a theater actress and she wanted to do it like she was doing the theater, but that's what they created. That's when they had to develop the 3-camera or 3 or 4-camera system where they had it on different angles. So that way she could do her takes, one take or 1 or 2 takes, and that was it. And that was pretty much the creation of the sitcom, what we have today. live audience sitcoms, which was cool. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's look into it. All right.
All right.
Cool.
Well,
All
that's
right.
it, guys. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Talking Cinema, where I stick to my guns and still believe that Prometheus sucks. No, disappointing.
Disappointing.
I'm sorry.
It disappoints.
It disappoints because I expected a lot from Ridley Scott, because Ridley Scott was close to 80 years old. He should know better. He should know how to tell a story, and he didn't tell a story right until Alien Covenant came about, and that's when he redeemed himself.
Shame on you, Ridley.
Shame on you, Ridley Scott. You should know better. You've been around the block for years, my friend.
You're an 80-year-old
guys,
man.
I've had a few drinks. I'm a little loose, so I apologize. So next week it'll be just Sean and I. James won't be with us next week, but when we do return the week after that, it won't be on a Friday. It'll be hopefully either a Tuesday or Thursday. It depends on whether or not Sean is able to join us or not. But we'll give you an update next Friday to let you guys know when we're going to move. And then once we move to the new day, we will be doing a second edition of underrated and overrated directors. But this time we'll include our third co-host, James Callahan, because I'm curious to know what his list will be. Because I got Sean's, he's got mine. We can't use the same director twice, so we have to pick other directors we feel are underrated or overrated. So it'd be interesting to see what James will pick, because it's gonna be cool. Hopefully,
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So when we get back on a new day, it won't be about a movie. It'll be about underrated and overrated directors, Volume 2, and after that, we'll pick another movie to review and talk about. So this was a great stream, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us next week, Friday. Me and Sean will be talking about, as we talked about just a second ago, about the history of sitcoms, and we're going to pick a show, maybe a few shows for that matter, both that we're familiar with, and we'll talk about the impact it had on culture and maybe the impact it had on television.
Yeah.
And overall, we'll see. We'll see how we'll wing it.
I think we should just talk about shows we're familiar with and that we like.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably have some overlap somewhere like Seinfeld or shows like that. So
yeah, good. That's a good idea. All right. So join us next week for that. And so have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you next time on Talking Cinema. Good night and good luck, everyone.